everybody. I hope you're doing well today. We're very excited to talk to you about search today. We have a lot of good details for you. We have an exciting agenda for you. We're going to talk about the benefits of Roku Search. Of course, there are many. And the Roku Search feed 2.0, we'll go into some details about that. Implementing a new search feed. If you haven't already done so, we are going to give you the basics and some exciting new updates on what's coming next for the developer dashboard for search. We're going to start off today with the Roku Search benefits. First of all, having a Roku Search feed allows users to find your titles that are in your channel by using voice search or text search to find results. This leads to content discovery. We have visual search results here on the left, and Roku Zones is shown on the right. Roku Zones are a place that your content can pop up if it's related to something like a superhero movie here in this example, or a Halloween movie, if as we just passed the recent holiday, that type of thing. But your content is only in there if you have a search feed already implemented. A brand new benefit is the save list. This launched in October of this year on 11.5. It allows users to search and save content titles, and then to find those saved titles under what to watch in the left-hand navigation. This is exciting because if you have new titles coming to the device, or you have some top new entertainment that are popular for users to find on device, this allows them to keep that saved there and then to check that out later and find your channel in order to watch it later on. Roku Search Feed 2.0, we have some details. This is a JSON-based search feed. It has all regions and languages in one feed. Rather than the old model or legacy model, we needed separate feeds by language. Now they're all in one place, so that helps you keep your data all in one place. It includes content availability windows, which allow multiple time windows that can be provided for different regional launches. This gives you really acute access to releasing new launches for your media titles, and then also allows you to remove them based on the timestamp. We have one additional media type at this time. We still are including series, season, and episode, and movie. We've added short form to the list. And the JSON-based feed will allow you to have access to any new media types as we add them in the future. The JSON-based search feed also gives multiple play ID types in one feed. Both channel-specific and gracenote source IDs can be used in the same feed. Implementing a search feed takes us several steps today. You'll build the feed according to the Search Feed 2.0 spec. You'll submit the feed via the Search Feed Validator on the developer dashboard, fix any errors reported via the validator, and then Partner Success will follow up with you to request several assets once your feed has passed that initial validation. Partner Success will be looking for the regions and languages in the feed, images to be used by the search system, and sample titles to be used for certification. And then, as soon as the feed is approved, publication will be scheduled. It's important to note some best practices when submitting a search feed, and also while maintaining your search feed. You should read the specifications in the documentation. Pay a special detail to things like the mandatory fields, anything that says required on it. And then also to formatting, like the seconds versus millisecond values, anything that has some kind of timestamp. Make sure that you're paying attention to how those should be formatted. You'll use initially any JSON schema validator online to catch schema issues. So you can go to Google, you can check out what they have there as far as just basic JSON validation, and that'll catch any little lint that you find in your JSON feed. And then once you've done that, you'll use Roku's search feed validator to catch any metadata issues. Also, make sure that the feed is accessible. It shouldn't be API based. It should just be accessible and posted in a server somewhere so that we can reach it very easily. It can be protected by HTTPS. Also, it's important to know what a search deeplink sends. Here's a sample. And I've included a failing sample because I want you to see what you should be looking for and ready to process. First, you'll want to note the action, the content ID, and also the media type. Here, this search is looking for a season. It's expected to run, and when clicked via search, and then it exits. And the reason for an exit is generally that the channel itself wasn't built to look for season when launching for a series, season and episode deep link. So just pay attention to what it is that your channel is expecting when a search deep link is launched. We have some really exciting updates for you. Coming soon to the developer dashboard, we have a new search feed URI. It's an all-in-one submission and validation experience. And we're actually going to view a video of this now.
Thanks, Amanda. And hi, everyone. As Amanda just mentioned, I'm going to walk you through a quick demo of a forthcoming feature in the developer portal, which will provide enhanced capabilities for developers to not only submit content feeds for Roku Search, but also review the feed status and review error reports in order to optimize channels discovery within Roku Search. Okay, so here I am on the developer dashboard. In order to access this new feature, navigate over to the search feeds entry in the left-hand nav. The first thing you may notice when you land on the new search feed page is the legacy search feed status section at the bottom of the page. This section will list any channel that is already live in Roku Search using the deprecated feed format, if you have any such channels associated with your account. Channels listed here are read-only, meaning you will need to contact Partner Success directly if you need to make any edits to your legacy search feed integrations. For the purposes of this demo, however, I want to show you the process for submitting a new search feed. So for that, I'll click on the new search feed button at the top of the page. Once I click that, I'll land on this web form where I can submit all the required information for my search feed. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the channel that I'm trying to integrate into Roku Search. I'll be asked to select from a list of all my published channels. Next, I'll drop in the URL endpoint where my actual search feed lives. And then finally, I'll provide an email address where I'd like to receive status updates as my feed goes through initial validation. Now that everything's completed, let's go ahead and click Submit. I'll then be redirected back to the main search feed page. You'll notice an entry has been added to the table to reflect my new submission. The feed will initially be in a submitted state, so there won't be any results for the content validity report or for the most recent ingestion date. At this point, you can navigate away from this page if you'd like, as initial feed validation can take up to 15 minutes. Once validation is completed, you'll receive an email at the address you provided when submitting your feed, notifying you whether your feed has passed or failed validation. Now, if we fast forward 15 minutes and I go ahead and refresh the page, you'll notice that the status pill has been updated to tell me that my feed was successfully validated. Please be mindful that once the feed is successfully validated, your channel will still need to go through additional certification testing around its deep linking behavior. At that time, Roku's Partner Success team will reach out to you over email to initiate that final bit of testing. Something else you will notice on this page is this 99% number, which represents the amount of content within the feed that was successfully indexed without errors. This number is updated roughly every 4 hours after each feed ingestion, so you can always monitor the real-time status of your feed completeness. If I click on this number, you'll see a reporting module pop up, which provides the specific number of content objects in my feed that passed and failed during indexing. You'll also see that you can download the warning report and error report. The error report only includes issues that caused a content object to fail during indexing, whereas the warning report also includes issues that don't cause an object to fail, but could be improved on, such as incomplete metadata for optional fields. In other words, the warning report is a superset of all issues, whereas the error report only includes issues that prevent content in your feed from showing up in Roku Search.
Thanks, Tom. That was a great demo. All right. From Aaron Spelling. Roku search feed for SDK channels, only from what I know, with V2, which is JSON based. It'd be very easy to implement it for direct publisher channels too. Any chance to have it available for direct publisher channels?
Yeah, well, I can take that. Direct publisher channels are actually they're automatically included in Roku Search. If you're not finding that to be the case, it is likely due to the engagement thresholds that are enforced around that. Amanda may know the exact numbers better than I do, but I believe you need about 1,000 streaming hours per month in your channel before your content will start appearing in search. But one of the benefits...
It's actually, sorry, go ahead. It's actually 10,000.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say that is one of the benefits of direct publisher is that you're automatically included in search. It's just that you need to hit these thresholds.
Yeah. And the threshold is 10,000 streaming hours a month.
All right. Awesome. Here we go. The first deep linking question. Is deep link support required for channels that don't have searchable content?
Yes, deep linking is a requirement it's not a requirement for direct publisher channels, but for any SDK channel, deep link is required. And I guess a little background on that. The reason why it's required is that if you want to do banner ads or anything like that, you'll want to have that deep link functionality working. And so we ask that you test that beforehand.
As a reminder, search is just one of many of our content discovery features on the platform. So that's why you need to have deep linking integrated in your channel. It's not just only for search. We have a lot of other stuff that you may want to integrate into your channel. Okay, the next question from Paul. We have lots of channels. Will Roku provide an API for updating the feed?
So I'm not sure what feed this is referring to, whether it's the search content feed or a direct publisher feed. But in either case, this would be something that you're already hosting on your backend. So you should be able to go update that at any time you like. And then our ingestion service will ping it to ingest any updates from 4 times a day.
Great. Are there any plans for additional media types? Audio, live video, other non-video, and so on?
Go ahead, Aditya.
I was going to ask if Brian wants to take this one because we like we said, like we're not talking about a roadmap here, so we are talking about things that we want to have in the future. So as we know and learn more about it, we can publish those details.
Yeah, I think probably the one thing to call out is if there are specific media types that you are hoping we would support, then that's feedback that would be really useful for us. And you can ping either myself or Jonathan or someone on the Roku Developer Slack, and we'll get that feedback to Aditya.
All right, from Brian. I remember there being an API for specifying that a user was logged in, and that would prioritize content and search results. Is that API still being used or not?
So I believe that is the Roku event dispatcher, and Jonathan, I think you'll actually know better than I do, but I believe that's still actually a search requirement, or sorry, a cert requirement. Yeah. So the answer to your question is yes, that's still being used, and that's what that's one of the reasons that we have that cert requirement in place.
Yeah, so you've got the Roku event dispatcher RED that sorry, I used an acronym, bad habit. But so that's used to determine whether your customer is logged in or not. That determines that authentication status, or determines prioritization in Roku Search. So that's definitely a cert requirement and something your channel needs to have integrated.
Yeah, and I guess just to elaborate on that, since I'm not sure, I think people on the call probably have different levels of familiarity with what this question is asking about. So the basic idea is that Roku Search, Roku as the platform, we want to present the user with content in order of sort of what is most free for them, right? Like the cheapest option to view a piece of content that they've searched for. So what we'll do is if there's an SVOD service, for example, that does have the content, but we know that user is already paying for that service and logged in, then there's no additional cost to watch it. And so thanks to this API, we can know that this user is logged in to that service, and we'll surface that at the top, as opposed to, say, suggesting that they should rent it for $3.99 or something like that.
Great. Thanks, Tom, for the background on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next question. That's a great one. What's the best way to provide feedback and request features for the search team? I'll start. There's some general things you guys can do, as we've talked about throughout these 2 days, as far as providing feedback. You always can contact your partner manager. You can contact partner success with your request. Also, you can ping us on the developer Slack. I think one of the things that came out yesterday is that we want to create something similar for Roku Pay. I envision what we should be doing for all the panels that we've had these 2 days. I will go ahead and we can add channels for those things, whether it's voice, search, ads, scene graph, and so on. We can set up separate rooms for those, and we can actually, that way you guys can go ahead and Slack in your RFEs. So that's what I think. Those are some general things we can do, and I'll let the other team expand on that.
I don't think there's any expansion needed, but one other place that you could submit feedback after the panel, after the Dev Summit, if you think of something in the future, you can always contact partner success at roku.com.
Perfect. All right, Ronley, would you consider putting a CLI/local to run the full suite of validations on the JSON feed without needing to submit the feed to Roku? JSON schema syntax checking is only so helpful. This would allow us to validate feeds in continuous integration environments like GitHub Actions or Circle CI, similar to the SCA CLI.
So one thing I can say is that myself and the team are very aware of the requests for a variety of different APIs into the developer portal. This would be one of those, so we are investigating that. I can't really make comments on the roadmap, but that's something that we recognize as one of the top community asks and are investigating.
Okay. Once a search feed is approved, how long does it take to see the results in Roku Search? I believe the answer is within approximately 6 hours. I think our search, I think it picks up changes for every 6 hours, but I'll allow the team to expand on that, see if I got that one right or not.
I think 6 hours would probably be a safe bet, but depending on whether it gets processed immediately or not, it could be anywhere from immediately to 6 hours. I think 6 hours is kind of like the last or the latest.
Yep, I was trying to go for the conservative estimate.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah, so within 6 hours, let's say.
I think either Brian or Amanda, could you guys speak to the validity periods as well? Because I think I think a lot of folks have a question around how do you time having specific pieces of content go live if they're not going to know exactly when the feed is indexed. So can you speak towards those two fields?
Go ahead, Amanda. I think you mentioned it in your slide deck, though, as one of the features.
Yeah, so knowing that it can take up to 6 hours to have your feed ingested, I would recommend putting any availability start times or end times in before that. So well before that. If you put it in 12 hours ahead, it'll most likely be picked up. If you put it in a day ahead, it'll definitely be picked up. But beyond that, once that timestamp is picked up, our system is going to record it and say, you want this movie to be launched at midnight, and then it'll be launched at midnight, or it'll disappear from the feed at midnight because you asked for it to disappear from the feed at midnight. So as long as you get the timestamp in there early enough to be picked up by the system, you'll see the change reflected in the on device.
Excellent. So we actually have a couple audience follow-up questions. I'm going to start with Bronley. So Bronley, you now have permission to talk. The floor
Great.
is yours.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So this is just in response to my question earlier. I think my question was more focused on being able to run the tools and continuous integration. So you talked about opening up the APIs. Would you be open to us firing off 50 to 100 of these API validate JSON feed calls per company? Because I think one of my imaginations here was that we would be able to actually run the tool in CI without having to hit the Roku servers every time. So like your full suite of domain tests and validations, like I'm assuming you're running some kind of CLI on the back end as well. And we all have to conform to them anyway. So I'm not sure that they would need to be overly secretive, the kinds of things you expect from this JSON feed. So something like a node module or another Java tool like you have for the static channel analysis is more what I was looking for this.
Right, I see. Okay. Yeah, that is an interesting feature request. I think that's something that we can talk to the dev tools team about, as well as Aditya, and see if that's something we can get into the roadmap.
It has been brought up before, though, just so we're aware of it. And I think, as Tom was mentioning earlier, I think we are kind of looking into what we can do to support something like that.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Next question from Brian. Follow up to my last question. If a piece of content is free to watch for everyone, would the fact that a user is signed into our service help promote our app more, or does it not have an effect then?
I'm not certain. I don't know if Aditya, you may know the secret sauce of the recommendation engine a bit better than I do, but I do believe that API is only useful in the case of an authenticated channel, whether that's SVOD or a public broadcast or something like that, where you need to authenticate.
Content is free. I'm just trying to read the question and trying to make sense of it. So with the fact that you signed into help promote app more. So I think the way our recommendation kind of works, and recommendations is a whole different thing. I think when you search for a piece of content, we kind of try and bring to the top the most likely entitled option that you have. If it's free, then definitely it'll come to the service. But if you already have a service that you are paying for an SVOD service and the movie is available across both free and things, then you will have the option to watch it on either of the services. So I think that's how it works today. So just trying to...
Yeah, so I think the question is, in that scenario, if there's an authenticated service that you're authenticated into and there's a free service, does the fact that the user is authenticated into the first one, does that help bolster its standing in the search results? Or would they just be randomized between those two? And also, I'm not sure that we necessarily will share that, just to get Aditya off the hook a bit.
Yeah, no, I will have to kind of look back and on what we share. Like, I think we provide all our options. Our aim is to have the best user experience, right? I'm going to kind of mystify it a bit, but I think we want to show the best options that this user is most likely to watch for. I can go back and kind of look at what we need to do to answer this question. So I don't know if we are sharing these kind of things. That's why I'm a bit hesitant.
Yeah, I'll follow up. Actually, I'll tell you the priority list is actually documented in our Roku Search documentation. Okay. And it's just a matter of, I'm just not recalling exactly, that specific between the tie between authenticated and free. But what we can share has been shared. So just take a look at the Roku Search implementation document. And when we're done, I'll post that document in the search channel in the Roku Developer Summit Slack.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
So next question. If you don't meet the engagement threshold, must you still submit a feed even though it goes nowhere?
Yeah, so I think this is a callback to the conversation around direct publisher feeds and those engagement thresholds. But I think the person who asked this may be conflating something, so maybe we didn't articulate it clearly enough. Submitting a search feed is not required today. It greatly helps with the discoverability of content in your channel and therefore your channel itself. And it also is proven to bolster streaming hours within your channel, but it's not required. When we were talking about these engagement thresholds, let me take a step back. So by submitting a direct publisher feed, by running a direct publisher channel, you already are maintaining a content feed. And so those are one and the same. The engagement threshold is effectively in place to sort of combat spam channels, so to speak. Given the bar of creating a direct publisher channel is so low, we have engagement thresholds in place to enforce quality effectively. But for an SDK channel, you're not required to submit a search feed at all.
Awesome. And by the way, just sort of late breaking news. I checked the document. So in the event that there's a tie, authenticated SVOD or TV, so cable satellite channels, does trump AVOD is what we have documented. So, all right. So next question. Looking for more insight into how Roku uses the gracenote library versus direct partner libraries.
Brian, this might be one that
I can give some insight to that. So we generally rely on the gracenote library as kind of like our main meta store, like our source of truth for a lot of the data, and we work pretty closely with gracenote to make that high quality data. And for the most part, when we can, we try and rely on that because we have the mechanism of fixing that if something is off. But we also do partially rely on some of the direct publisher data as well, in either cases where there is no gracenote like item, or maybe it may not be fully formed from gracenote. So I think I know it's not great to hear that we're not going to 100% rely on our direct partner libraries, but we do use them, and you will see your assets and some of that stuff in our various screens. So, yeah.
Okay. Looks like we have our last question. There's still, by the way, folks, there we go. We still have another 13 minutes, so please keep providing your questions. It's a great opportunity to ask the team questions, so let's take advantage of the time. Will search certification continue to expand and grow? Let me just start by saying that, currently search is not necessarily a certification requirement, but we're always looking for ways to ensure that our customers have a high performance, consistent experience across the Roku platform. So
I think that, I'm also trying to make sense of the question a bit, but I think that it's asking about the certification we do. Validation around a feed once you have chosen to submit one. I sort of interpret that in two different ways. So there is a question of whether or not we will raise the bar of what we're testing for, or expand the testing that we do. And then I think, and that's sort of like a process or policy question. And then I think the other half of that question is around making self-service tools available, sort of like what Bronley was asking about. And also as we expand the functionality that's coming to the developer portal. So I can take that second bucket. I don't know if someone else has thoughts on the policy side. But we do generally want to, after this first rollout that's coming to the developer portal, we do want to continue to enhance that experience to move search feed submission more and more in a self-service and even self-publishing direction, much like we do for channel certification today. So you can expect to see that happen in bits and phases over a couple quarters.
Okay. We have provided a feed with the Great Britain pounds currency, but still getting the warning in the results. The currency provided is not valid.
I can address that. I don't know how much we want to get into feed issues, but Yeah, I think I guess I would say first thing to check is UK or GB one of the provided regions that you're trying to, for that play option that you're saying that the currency is the pound, because that could be a cause. Like if you say that this is only available in the US and you provide the currency of the pound, it might complain that it's not a valid currency. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. Yeah.
Perfect. So there are no questions on the board, so I'm going to give the audience another minute to pop in any additional questions. So we'll just kind of wait on the line. Also, if the panel has anything they want to add, anything that you guys want to, the floor is yours. Okay.
Yeah,
So
should we talk about pagination that just was introduced? Maybe it's not even documented now.
Yeah. If I think Brian, if you want to go ahead, let's talk about pagination.
I wasn't aware we officially made that public yet. But yeah, so if for example you have really large feeds and you want to make both of our servers' lives a little bit better, yeah, you can add a field to the feed called, like, I think it's in the documentation. It's like something like next page URL, and essentially what we'll do is we'll keep pulling, we'll download one, if there's a next page URL, we'll get the next one, and we'll get the next one definitely until that's not there anymore. And if, for instance, certain pages don't change, then we can, process them faster because, we can skip those pages, for example. So if you really want to optimize the system, what you can, in theory, do is leave all of your programs that are kind of longer lived towards the earlier pages and only add to the end. And then your ingestion time and how quickly content can get in the system will be sped up quite a bit, because we'll only be looking at like the last page, or we'll still check all of them, but we won't actually process the ones that haven't changed.
Cool. We actually have an audience question or comment from Vicky. So Vicky, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. So the floor is now yours if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, cool beans. Okay, so I thought I was asking it in the right place, but apparently not. Anyway, I am a part of the conference. I mean, the summit. So I'm new to Roku Direct Publishing. I'm a publisher and books and all that storytelling. And so I do want my content to be there for people to see it. However, like I said, I'm new. My first channel published on Monday. And what happened was the video that I had placed there using JSON from Vimeo, it's there. I can see it. It's there now. And but when I click the video, it's not playing. And my question is that because I heard earlier about you have to have like 1,000 or 10,000 viewer hours, or is that because I did something wrong? And so I had the person that's helping me do it again, and it republished like 20 minutes ago. So I ran upstairs to look on my real television from Roku, and it's still not playing. So what is happening there? And then the other thing is, if you can suggest, I don't know if you can, where should I host or hold my videos so that there's a simple, smooth way for me to integrate them into Roku Direct Publishing?
Okay. I can try to take this. First off, congrats on your first channel. That's actually really exciting.
Thanks.
So it sounds like the issue you're seeing is in the channel itself and not necessarily related to search deep linking. So I would encourage you to ping me on Slack, and I'm happy to help you about this directly. If you're in the Roku Developers Slack group, you can find me. I believe I'm Tom from Roku with underscores in between each word.
Okay.
Or you can even email me at tcharles@roku.com. I think it'll probably be better if this sounds like a troubleshooting issue, so I can help you with that offline, but it's related to
Charles at
Roku.com.
Okay, great. Okay. Got it. Okay, yeah. So because I went up to here, and I just wanted to I have plenty of content over the years and so forth and so on, and the quality is there, but I just was testing that one video to see how it goes, and people from various parts of the state, because my husband put it on Facebook. They ran and downloaded the app and did all that, and I really wasn't ready. So I'm like, wait a minute. But either way, okay, good. And so I guess in terms of where to hold the videos, should I get a separate website, go Vimeo? That piece is the other piece that I need to make sure, because I really want to just, work with my content to be on Roku and just that's it, at this point.
Yeah, we have a list in our documentation of third-party host providers and OVPs, and that's something I'm going to put that in the Developer Summit Slack channel for you.
Okay.
The link to that documentation, but it has all our hosting partners that can help you out.
Great. And I did join that group too, by the way, the Slack.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know Vimeo is one of the providers, and I know they can be one of the more cost-effective providers too. So I think they're great for direct publisher in particular. If you're seeing issues, that would, I think, be between you and Vimeo, but it sounds like you have a representative on that side who can help you with that.